Inspector General of Police sets up forensic team as Nigerians demand justice for murdered girls. Fuel marketers express worry over further reduction in petrol price. In international news, protests grow worldwide over George Floyd's police murder as President Trump threatens to activate the military to quell unrest. And in sport, Egyptian football clubs divided over football activities resumption.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigeria recorded 416 new COVID-19 cases on Monday, bringing the total number of cases to 10,578. Nigeria Center for Disease Control reports that 122 patients have been discharged so far. 299 deaths were reported. Monday's new cases were spread across 19 states and the FCT, with Lagos accounting for the highest number of infections with 192 cases. NCDC says most of the COVID-19 deaths were of persons who had other underlying illnesses. Meanwhile, Bayelsa State Government has closed 6 churches in different parts of Yenagoa, the state capital, for violating restrictions and safety measures put in place to control the COVID-19 pandemic. Church services in the state are restricted to not more than 20 worshippers. Religious houses are also required to provide hand sanitizers, running water and soap at all entrance points. Attendees are also to wear face masks. And in another development, Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello has declared a 2-week lockdown in Kaba local government area. Bello says this is to allow for proper contact tracing after NCDC recorded 2 positive cases of COVID-19 in Kaba Bunu local government area in the Kogi West Senatorial District. Police say they have arrested the suspected killer of University of Benin student Vera Omozuwa. Edo Police Command spokesman Chidi Nwabuzo said the suspect was nabbed through his fingerprints at the scene of the crime. Omozuwa's killing in Edo State, along with that of Tina Ezekwe in Lagos over the weekend, has continued to generate anger and outrage on social media. Nigerians have joined the hashtag Blackout Tuesday trending worldwide and hashtag We Are Tired. Tina Ezekwe was hit by a bullet last Tuesday in front of her mother's shop in Lagos when a reportedly drunk police officer shot to disperse a crowd. Uwa Omosuwa was an undergraduate at the University of Benin who was gang raped in her church where she had gone to study. She died from a head injury sustained when the perpetrators hit her with a fire extinguisher. Meanwhile, Lagos Police Command Public Relations Officer Bala Elkana says ASP Theophilus Otobo and Inspector Oguntoba Olamigoke have been arrested in connection with the death of Tina Ezekwe. Nigerians are demanding that the officers involved in Ezekwe's killing and the suspect in Omosuwa's murder are brought to book. The federal government has anchored the country's continued borrowing on the unexpected spending on the nation's health sector to contain the coronavirus pandemic. Director General of the Debt Management Office, Patience Oniha, says the increased 2020 borrowing is also as a result of the budget deficit. Oniha says the new external borrowing of 850 million naira, which was to be raised through Eurobonds, has been converted to domestic borrowing because of the lack of access to the international capital market. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, also says the federal government's stimulus package would reduce the economic effect of the pandemic on citizens. She confirmed 77% of the newly proposed revenues from the various sources, such as the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and the Nigerian Customs Service, were for debt servicing. Fuel marketers say they are really worried about a further reduction in oil prices because they are not involved in the decision-making process. The Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency has just announced another reduction in pump price to 121 naira per litre. The pump price of petrol was reduced by 20 naira in March. Executive Secretary Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, Clement Isong, wants the PPPRA to carry his group along in its monthly price band because of the huge losses involved. Isong says the regulation is the ultimate solution to the challenges in the downstream petroleum sector of the nation's oil and gas industry. National Operations Controller, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Mike Osatui, says members of the association would abide by the new price band only after selling their old stocks. Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele says 7 out of 10 Monetary Policy Committee members backed the recent cuts in the benchmark lending rate to 12.5%. But economic experts are divided on this new development. A correspondent, Deji Badmos, has the details.
Decision by the central bank to cut the benchmark interest rate took quite a number of close watchers of the economy by surprise, and it has divided opinion among the experts, with the main argument centering on the monetary lending rate and the cash reserve ratio, which the MPC retained at 27.5%.
Even though cash reserve requirement, the rates could have been adjusted, but the one that is mostly efficient is the adjustment of monetary policy rate.
I don't think the monetary policy rate is a major determinant of lending rate in the market today. So in that wise, I wouldn't think adjusting the monetary policy rate will have any material impact on the lending rate or the available credit in the market.
It remains to be seen whether the decision to lower the benchmark interest rate would spur more lending in the banking sector and generate economic growth, which is what the central bank is targeting. While the Nigerian government and the IMF have projected the country would slide back into recession this year, the Apex Bank is bullish that could be avoided. It's a position that is also dividing opinion.
I think it's inevitable. Nigeria will go into a recession because when you look at our export, our current account is negative. When you look at our export as completely reduced, when you look at our import also significantly reduced, exchange rate, foreign reserve has contrasted.
Nigeria can actually sidestep an economic recession, and I'll tell you why. Because for you to have a recession, you must have 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. We are likely going to have a negative growth in the second quarter of this year. But the third quarter, which will be the period July to September, may not have a negative growth.
But even if Nigeria avoids slipping into recession by the end of the year, there are fears the country may not be able to avoid a second devaluation, especially if oil prices continue to remain low.
The reasons why I don't think the central bank will have a compelling need to devalue the currency is because we are seeing recoveries in oil prices. We're also seeing rebalancing in crude oil market.
Devaluation may not necessarily happen if before the end of June, oil price climb up to $40 a barrel. But if it does not, then it will become inevitable.
There's no certainty about the Nigerian economy at the moment, and this is likely the result of low oil prices in the global market. The country's oil monopoly NNPC recently disclosed that it is still looking for buyers for its crude oil, whose demand has dropped due to the coronavirus pandemic. But with more and more countries easing their lockdowns, there's hope demand for oil will rise. How quickly that happens could make the big difference for Africa's largest economy.
Coming up, African stories. Democratic Republic of the Congo hit by new Ebola cases, sparking concern among health authorities. And later, international news. Protests grow worldwide over George Floyd's police murder as President Trump threatens to activate the military to quell unrest.
You are watching ANN.
Remember that Nigerian tell her I want marry. She dey come my house today. I'm gonna tell her to marry me.
Remember what I taught you about playing music from the internet?
I'm gonna play romantic music for her. The body remains small, make it done. Will you marry me? I have a surprise for you. Google, play me a romantic music. Everything is okay. Network is shaky. Google, play me a romantic music. Google, play me a romantic music.
Maybe I should go.
Don't let poor internet ruin special moments. Join the super fast and reliable 4G network and get double data.
Now in the watch.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Concerns are growing over new cases of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's western province of Equateur, more than 1,000 kilometers from the earlier outbreak epicenter in eastern North Kivu, Ituri provinces. Health Minister Eteni Longodo told journalists on Monday 6 new confirmed Ebola cases were detected and 4 deaths have been recorded near Mbadaka area, which has a population of 1 million persons. Health authorities are now faced with a fresh challenge. The World Health Organization says it would continue to support the country to battle the deadly Ebola viral disease. 2 months ago, the nation was days away from declaring the end to the second largest Ebola epidemic on record when a new chain of infection was found. The declaration had to be pushed back. More than 2,000 persons have died from the disease since August 2018. The country is also struggling with coronavirus, with more than 3,000 confirmed cases. The Tunisian House of People's Representatives has passed a $75 million loan agreement to support startups and innovative small and medium enterprises in the country. The plan is to help Tunisia achieve the objectives of a 5-year program to create 1,000 startups and ultimately 10,000 jobs. Adnin Chawochi has the details.
The first loan agreement signed between the Republic of Tunisia and the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development aims to help Tunisia achieve the objectives of a 5-year program for the creation of 1,000 startups and consequently the creation of 10,000 jobs.
The first objective of this loan is to support the state budget. Tunisia lacks financial resources to implement its structural, economic and social reforms. The current pandemic has caused the loss of tens of thousands of jobs. Now, the state must find ways of creating jobs by seeking foreign loans.
The Parliament has also adopted an €89.2 million loan agreement to finance an e-governance program and strengthen the digitization of administrative services.
The COVID-19 crisis has revealed the weaknesses of the services offered by the Tunisian administration. Many services will be digitized. The new loan will help state agencies and ministries guarantee the efficiency of operations. We cannot talk about a digital economy while the administration is disconnected from reality and technology.
The project will connect 2,000 primary schools to the internet via optical fiber, improve the education sector, and reorganize exams and digital content.
Connecting schools to the internet will allow students to sit for online exams and avoid direct contact because the second wave of the pandemic is expected at the beginning of the new school year.
The new loans aim to improve social services by identifying the special categories concerned by social interventions, to generate the digital transfers of funds, and to improve the use of e-healthcare solutions.
Tunisia is taking significant steps towards using e-governance, online platforms, and mobile technology for transparency. Experts assert that embracing digitization will help in the fight against corruption.
When we return, international news. Protests grow worldwide over George Floyd's police murder as President Trump threatens to activate the military to quell unrest. And later, sport. Egyptian football clubs divided over football activities resumption.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The police murder of a Minnesota black man last week has drawn rage around the world as many countries staged protests. George Floyd's killing has sparked protests in Berlin, London, Amsterdam and Vancouver, Canada, where demonstrators took to the streets to condemn George Floyd's killing. Chilean protesters called for protection from police abuse, while governments in China and Iran used the murder to accuse the United States of hypocrisy on human rights.
Pretty awesome. It's pretty extraordinary to see everyone right here, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And I just love the vibe, really, of unity and trying to show up for something that really matters everywhere.
Family has conducted a private autopsy that concluded George Floyd's death was a homicide that was caused by compression of his neck and back by police officers. An earlier government autopsy reached a different conclusion but has now been amended to agree with the private autopsy. The county medical examiner also cited some other prevailing health conditions in his report. Many have been killed or wounded across the nation as a result of the unrest. And President Donald Trump has characterized the violence and looting across the country as acts of domestic terror and has threatened to deploy soldiers against the American people to clear up the streets and end the protests. Terrence Floyd, brother of slain George Floyd, has called on protesters to embrace peace and to go to vote rather than turn to violence. He made the call while visiting the scene of his brother's death in Minneapolis, Minnesota on Monday. Correspondent Dan Williams was there.
George Floyd's brother Terrence wanted to see for himself the location where his brother was killed. But as he approached the makeshift memorial, his legs appeared to give way, overcome with emotion. An outline of George's body has been painted on the ground. Terrence sat down beside it, sobbing. Despite the anguish and the heartbreak, Floyd's message was one of unity, calling for peaceful protests, but also for his brother's killers to be brought to justice.
So if I'm not over here wilding out, if I'm not over here blowing up stuff, if I'm not over here messing up my community, then what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Y'all doing nothing. Because that's not going to bring my brother back at all. I know. He would not want y'all to be doing this. Peace on the left. Peace on the left. Peace on the left. Peace on the left. Justice on the right.
Terrence then spent several minutes looking at the messages and flowers that had been left at this intersection in Minneapolis.
The events here of a week ago served to shake a nation, sparks that ignited countrywide outrage, while this makeshift memorial to George Floyd has become a sacred space and a powerful reminder as to the horror that occurred.
The images of former police officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for several minutes caused outrage across the U.S.
I think we all share the same sentiment. We want our city back and we want justice for George Floyd, and that is at the top of our list of things. And a lot of us are willing to risk our lives to make that happen. But in a peaceful way is the way to do it.
We need a new law passed. We want justice. We want the police to obviously pay for their sins for what they committed, this monstrosity over here.
Few could have predicted the chain of events that have taken place in the US since George Floyd's death here. It has exposed deep sadness and anger, but even deeper social issues.
George Floyd! George Floyd! George Floyd!
The wearing of face masks in France has presented a problem for a segment of the society, the hearing impaired. The group says wearing a mask has made it difficult for them to read the lips of medical or service providers.
Face masks are now an essential item for people in France. The public are advised to wear them outside. Some shops are making sure customers cover their mouth and nose before stepping inside. But face coverings are posing a problem for people who rely on lip reading to help them communicate.
I went to the pharmacy and I couldn't understand or hear what the employees were saying because they were all wearing the face mask. There was 1 meter of distance, and there was also the window of plexiglass. So all of that I couldn't hear well. So I told them that I have a deafness, a moderate deafness, and I use lip reading, but I couldn't understand what they were saying.
Anissa Mekrabech, who is hearing impaired, was inspired to create a mask with a see-through window section. The idea appeared to be popular as she was able to raise more than $18,000 to fund the design and production.
First, with the lip reading, it will be much more easier. Also, to see facial expressions and to see a smile. So seeing a smile, it's very important in the human relationships.
But even among those in the deaf or hearing impaired community, there are reservations about such ideas. One activist says the money for the scheme should be put to better use.
When we talk about these transparent masks for deaf people, I feel I'm losing my identity as a deaf person. Wearing a mask is an advantage. It forces people to come up with other ways to communicate. Sign language is free and offers so much, but it's forgotten.
As cafes, bars and restaurants open up with restrictions, which include the wearing of face masks, the need for masks that enable people to lip read could become more pressing for those that rely on this form of communication.
Up next, sports. Egyptian football clubs divided over football activities resumption. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there.
Face masks are now
We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sports, the decision to resume the 2019-2020 football season in Egypt has caused a sharp division among the 18 Premier League clubs. The team cannot even agree on how the winner should be declared should the competition be cancelled. Reporter Adi El Marouki has more details.
The Egyptian Football Association says it's going to announce the fate of the Egyptian competitions by mid-June. With the Africa Cup of Nations still set for January, there is very little time to both conclude the Premier League and begin a new domestic season. Football officials say it's a 50-50 chance for the current league to get cancelled.
We cannot say which is the closest decision to be taken. The EFA is not the body designated to take such a decision. The African Confederation has not yet announced its call for continental competitions, so we cannot judge if there is going to be time to resume the Egyptian league.
Egyptian football clubs are divided. Some are for ending the season early, declaring Al Ahly and the Arab contractors as the top two this season, and Egypt's candidates for the CAF Champions League, while others are objecting. They want the league nullified, wiping out all results.
Arab contractors want to resume the Premier League. We can, in 2 months, wrap the season without causing any trouble. This way, it will be fair to decide who is relegating and who will join the big clubs. It could get sensitive. It's important to have a football system that is undisputed.
With no sports activities, all clubs are suffering. Some are installing salaries due to players. Others have cut them in half. Meanwhile, the sports ministry is more concerned with how sports will resume under the pandemic.
We have formed several committees, including a medical one, to study how to resume sports activities and the regulations to guide that. We're trying to see what measures will be sufficient for a safe resumption, and we are coordinating with the Egyptian Football Association and others to set a program for that.
All sports activities are set to gradually resume by mid-June, but football remains to be the biggest challenge for Egypt. Between fears of completing it under a super tight schedule or cancelling it, there is no easy way out. In either cases, the sport will be burdened by unprecedented preventive measures, which impact on the players' performances remains unknown.
That is in the news this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Have a pleasant evening.